Hi everyone! For this assignment, I am going to be showing you how I will be assessing my students in my thematic unit, Forces in Motion. So to begin, I want to go over what the overall project result I have anticipated. And to answer this question, I need to talk to you about how I went about designing my thematic unit. So for any unit I design or any lesson I design, I like to use a backward design model. So I create the objectives that I want my students to achieve by the end of a lesson based off of New York State standards. And these two standards for kindergarten really frame what I want my students to achieve at the end of my thematic unit. So for this class, we had to create 3 separate lessons, and I have my lesson 1, 2, and 3 here. And inside each of the lessons, there are several activities. There are 3 activities in lesson 1, 4 activities in lesson 2, and 3 activities in lesson 3, all equating to 10 activities. Each activity within a lesson has its own objective. So after strategically looking at the standards and thinking about my kindergarten audience, I thought that I would give out badges if students completed or surpassed the objectives in each of the activities within a lesson in my unit. The badges collected would go into each student's Forces in Motion portfolio that they will be curating throughout the course of this thematic unit. It'll have pictures and artifacts from the unit as well as badges that they've collected or achieved. The next area of discussion is what I'm going to be using as an assessment, rubric, model, or guiding principle. So being that I'm working with kindergarten, I thought it would be most developmentally appropriate that I look to SMART objectives and Bloom's taxonomy. So as I mentioned in the last slide, each activity has its own objective and they follow the SMART guiding principle. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic or relevant, and timely. So each of my objectives is specific to what we're learning about in each activity or each lesson. It's measurable. There is a set of criteria to follow. How, for example, students must get 3 out of 4 questions correct, or 80% accuracy, or something or other to show that they have reached a certain level of understanding. Achievable, it needs to be within their realm of ability. Realistic or relevant, it also needs to be given in a realistic or relevant time frame, or the information has to be relevant to them. And timely, it can be done in a appropriate fashion, an appropriate timely fashion for the student to complete. They have enough time to achieve what is being measured or asked of them. Then to follow along with Bloom's taxonomy, another model I use when curating my objectives is you work up on Bloom's taxonomy. So in lesson 1, for example, I'm really focusing on the remembering, understanding, maybe getting into a little bit of the application process of these concepts. And each lesson within my unit, there are 3 lessons, 10 activities, each objective builds up. And at the end, that's when they create their portfolio with their collection of badges. Now I'm going to be indicating how I will be assessing and rewarding students. And so the best way I thought to do this was to give a SMART objective to my summative assessment, the portfolio. And that is, students will collect at least 8 out of the 10 badges by the conclusion of the thematic unit. So if they collect 8 out of the 10 badges, that tells me as their teacher that they've learned the concepts to mastery and can move on to a more advanced scientific endeavor. So, like I mentioned, they'll have a portfolio that has artifacts and pictures, and I want to include some element of interactive writing. In kindergarten, you're just learning how to write simple sentences and CVC words, and sounding out complicated or tricky words. There's a lot of Tier 2 and Tier 3 vocabulary words in this thematic unit, so having students even spell them out phonetically or by sound would be I feel like tremendous to include into their portfolio, get some of those cross-disciplinary concepts built in alongside of their work. So yeah, I would basically just be assessing if they collected 8 out of 10 badges and the work that they have shown in their portfolio mirrors my expectations. So that is how I will be assessing my Forces in Motion thematic unit. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I look forward to watching your videos as well.